The conference room on the top floor of the Cavendish Tower feels as cold as a walk-in freezer. The glass walls look down over Manhattan, but all Claire Cavendish can see is the reflection of her own pale face in the polished table. At the head of the table, Butler Gray holds up a thick folder, the paper crisp and deadly in his hands. He smiles for the cameras as if he is the hero stepping in to save the day. Applause breaks out, rough and eager. Men in tailored suits and women in sharp dresses clap like they are at a theater premiere instead of a corporate execution. Claire sits near the corner, in a chair that suddenly feels too big for her narrow shoulders. Her white dress is simple and a little worn, the fabric thinned by too many washes. Her fingers knot in the hem until her knuckles ache. On the wall behind Butler, the family portraits are already gone. The painting of her parents that used to hang there, her mother in a soft cream dress and her father in a navy suit, has vanished as if they never existed. Only a blank square remains, slightly paler than the surrounding wall. Now their seats are empty, and Butler is standing where her father used to stand. Butler slaps the folder down on the table, the sound sharp enough to make Claire flinch. We cannot allow their crimes to drag this company into ruin. We will cooperate fully with the authorities, and make sure the Cavendish name does not stain our record any longer. Top rotten, bottom rotten, he says. Like father, like daughter. Heat rushes to Claire's face. Her eyes burn, but she bites the inside of her cheek until she tastes blood. She will not cry. Not here, not in front of these people who used to toast her parents with vintage champagne and beg for invitations to their exclusive tasting events. Miss Cavendish, he says, walking toward her. I did not expect to see you here. Every head turns. The room tilts. Claire forces her legs to move as Butler stops beside her chair, towering over her. She rises slowly, her knees unsteady. The light catches on the tear tracks she has tried so hard to wipe away. Her eyes are bright and wet, the way they always are when she is on the edge of breaking. Her voice comes out thin and shaky. She swallows and tries again. Mr. Gray, my parents did not do what you said. They would never steal from the company. There must be some mistake. Butler's smile is sympathetic in a way that makes Claire want to claw it off his face. Claire, he says gently. The documents are clear. The investigations are ongoing. You are young. You need to accept reality, and let the adults fix what can still be fixed. His words pat her on the head without touching her. The room quiets, the way a crowd always does when they smell a scandal about to become pathetic. Butler looks around as if to say, see how kind I am, how patient, even with the daughter of criminals. He leans closer, lowering his voice just enough that only the first few rows can hear. Your parents made their choices, he says. You need to think about your own future now. Then please, she says, letting her voice wobble. Let me stay in the company. I will do anything. I can make coffee, run errands, sort files. I will not cause trouble. I just want to be close enough to hear news about my parents. I want to be here when they clear their name. A few shareholders exchange amused looks. The former princess begging to be a servant, what a show. Butler studies her. She looks so small in front of him, shoulders drawn in, fingers twisted together. A girl who used to arrive in designer dresses and diamond earrings now stands in an old white dress that no longer fits quite right. The perfect picture of a fallen heiress who has no idea how the real world works. He pats her shoulder in a gesture that is both patronizing and possessive. You are a good daughter, he says loudly enough for the whole room to hear. It is admirable that you still care for your parents, even after what they have done. His words stab her, but she lets them. She lets every blade sink in and stay there. She needs the pain. It keeps her awake. It keeps the rage burning. Gasps ripple through the room. An assistant to the new king of the empire is still better than being thrown out on the street. Claire lowers her head so that her hair falls like a curtain around her face. Behind that curtain, her expression hardens to ice. When she speaks again, her tone is soft enough to dissolve sugar. He smiles, pleased. I am a fair man, he says. I believe in second chances. Claire lifts her eyes to his. For an instant, the mask cracks, just enough for a flicker of pure hatred to gleam through. From now on, he says, turning back to the room, this company will move forward. Under my leadership, Cavendish Dining will rise even higher. Applause crashes over them again. Reporters lift their phones. Cameras flash. Butler basks in it all, soaking in the attention. Inside, she is not still at all. Inside, she is counting the beats of his heart and imagining each one running out. Very good, Mr. Gray, she thinks as her lips curl in the faintest hint of a smile. You have no idea that your nightmare just walked onto your payroll. 3 weeks later, everyone on the executive floor knows the same 3 things about Claire Cavendish. 1. She always wears white. Crisp white shirts, simple white dresses, soft white cardigans. She looks like a snowdrop that somehow bloomed in an office full of steel and glass. 3. She never argues. If a manager dumps extra work on her, she smiles and says she is grateful for the opportunity to learn. If someone forgets to copy her on an important email, she says it must be her fault for not reminding them. Someone once joked that she is too soft to survive in corporate America. The joke never reached her ears. It died halfway across the room, strangled by the odd guilt that always follows after making fun of her. She walks into Butler's office carrying a tray with 2 cups of tea, the steam curling upward. The afternoon sun slants through the windows, painting long lines of light across the floor. "Come in." Butler calls without looking up from his laptop. "I brought your tea, Mr. Gray," she says. "And a cup of jasmine for Ms. Jones. She said she might drop by." Butler finally glances up. He is tired, the skin under his eyes shadowed. Trouble with suppliers, trouble with regulators, trouble with employees who are still loyal to the Cavendish name. He will not admit it, but the empire he stole is heavier than he expected. Her cheeks flush a soft pink. "I just guessed," she murmurs. "Ms. Jones likes to visit you around this time. I thought it would be nice if she did not have to wait for her tea." Butler chuckles. "You are very thoughtful." Of course she is thoughtful, Selena says, giving Claire a swift, evaluating once-over. "She is your favorite little stray, is she not?" Claire jumps, nearly sloshing tea over the rim of Butler's cup. Her eyes go wide with alarm. "I am so sorry," she blurts. "I did not hear you. I hope I did not stain your desk, Mr. Gray." "Relax," Selena says, dropping into the chair across from Butler. "He has insurance for the desk. Probably for you too." Claire smiles, shaky and grateful. "I hope I am not that expensive," she says shyly. "I just want to be useful." "What is this?" Selena asks, nodding at the second cup. "You read my mind too?" Claire shakes her head quickly. No. I just remember you ordered jasmine tea the last time you visited. I thought, maybe you would want the same today. You had such a busy call that day. You sounded tired." Selena's expression softens. "You remember that?" Claire nods, her hair swaying. "It was impressive," she says with quiet admiration. "You handled that supplier so well. Mr. Gray looked so relieved after you left." I thought it must be nice to be that capable." Selena lifts the cup, pleased. "Well," she says, glancing at Butler. "Someone has to keep this man from imploding his own company." Butler snorts. "You love the drama." Claire retreats toward the wall, folding herself into the edges of the room. She watches without watching, her gaze lowered, her ears sharp. When there is a pause, she steps forward just enough. Butler looks over, distracted. "Already? I stayed a little late yesterday," she admits. "I hope you do not mind. I just wanted to make sure everything was triple-checked. Oh, and..." She bites her lip, carefully drawing attention to it. "I overheard Mr. White on the phone with someone from the board. He sounded worried about the risks." Claire nods, like she is agreeing, but cannot quite hide the pinch of worry between her brows. "Of course," she says. "He just mentioned that Mr. Cavendish would never have approved such aggressive spending. He said the company used to be more stable." Selena raises an eyebrow. "He said that?" Butler's jaw tightens. The idea of his dead boss being praised over him scrapes against every insecure corner of his ego. "It is fine," he says, voice rougher now. "Thank you for telling me. You are loyal to me, Claire, I can see that." Selena taps her nails on the armrest, eyes narrowing. "Marcus has been dragging his feet for months," she says. "If he wants the stability of the old days, he can go haunt the Cavendish couple in prison." Claire's fingers tighten around her tablet, but her expression stays meek. "Please do not blame him because of me," she says softly. "I probably misunderstood. I am not very smart with big financial terms." By the time Claire leaves the office, they both feel like they have protected her from something terrible. That evening, she walks through the Cube farm where the analysts sit hunched over spreadsheets. She pauses by Marcus White's favorite junior analyst, a young man with tired eyes and a tie that never sits straight. Dylan groans. "More revisions." Claire leans in conspiratorially. "Between us," she whispers, "I think Mr. Gray is worried about the risk too. He does not want to admit it in front of the board, but he really relied on your last report." She nods. "He told me you see details other people miss." I think you are the reason this project will not blow up in his face. A blush creeps up Dylan's neck. Wow. He mutters. I had no idea. Dylan laughs. Your secret is safe. Her secret is never safe. Her secrets are weapons, lined up neatly like knives in a drawer. She does not invent conflicts. She does not need to. People hand them to her freely. She just pours a little white tea over them, sweet and gentle, until the cracks widen on their own. At night, when she returns to her small rented apartment 3 subway stops away, she pulls off her white cardigan and lets her smile drop. Soft, she tells her reflection. Helpless, harmless. Her reflection stares back, her eyes no longer wet, but hard and bright. She picks up her phone and scrolls through the hidden folder of documents she has begun to collect. Scans of strange contracts, screenshots of questionable fund transfers, snippets of recorded calls where Butler laughs about cutting corners and greasing palms. Every day as his assistant, she gets a little nearer to the center of his power. Every day, she twists the knife another inch. The first time Claire sneaks into Butler's office after hours, her heart beats so loud she is sure the cameras can hear it. The executive floor is almost empty. The cleaning crew has already vacuumed the carpets and wiped fingerprints off the glass walls. The city glows outside, a field of lights stretching toward the horizon. Instead, she slides the card through the reader and listens to the soft click as the lock releases. The office smells like air conditioning and cologne. The blinds are half closed, the room dim and shadowed. She closes the door carefully behind her and waits, holding her breath. No alarm blares. No guard rushes in. Her steps are soundless on the carpet as she moves toward the massive desk. The computer screen is dark. She presses the power button and types in the password she saw him use last week reflected in the glass wall. bgray1975. Once she is in, the fear recedes, replaced by a familiar, acidic clarity. She plugs in the small flash drive tucked in her pocket and begins to copy files. Contracts with shell companies in the Caribbean. Payment schedules that do not match public reports. Email chains with politicians using private accounts, and vague phrases about favors and support. She remembers the way her mother would tap a line on a spreadsheet and say, "When numbers do not add up, something always bleeds." Now Claire runs those lessons in reverse. She scrolls through his words until her eyes sting. For a second, grief cracks through her armor. Her throat tightens, and tears blur the screen. Her father will never write another memo. He sleeps in a cell now, judged guilty in every headline that mentioned his name. Claire presses her lips together until the moment passes. Then she clicks into the newer files, the ones Butler authored himself. She copies everything. She knows this is only a piece. Evidence is like thread. One piece can be torn. Enough pieces woven together become a net. She turns off the computer and smooths the desk surface with her palm, erasing any trace of her presence. Before she leaves, she pauses by the blank spot on the wall where her parents' portrait used to hang. In the weeks that follow, Claire becomes even more indispensable. She manages Butler's calendar, pushing certain meetings closer together and spacing others out. She reroutes calls, sometimes letting important ones go to voicemail just long enough to irritate partners. She keeps coffee preferences memorized and stress levels measured. At lunch, she sits with lower-level staff in the cafeteria, listening to their gripes and their fears. She learns which managers are quietly searching for new jobs and which ones are desperate to stay no matter who holds the throne. One afternoon, she finds Selena in the lounge, scrolling through social media with an impatient sigh. The other woman pauses the moment Claire appears. Claire laughs weakly. "Mr. Gray has been working very hard," she says. "I am just trying to keep up." Selena studies her more closely. There are faint shadows under Claire's eyes, the kind that do not come from partying. The white shirt she wears is pressed, but the cuffs are a little frayed. She looks like she is being slowly eaten by the job, and pretending to enjoy it. Claire hesitates, then lowers her voice. "He trusts you more than anyone," she says. "Sometimes he talks to me when he is stressed, but it is not the same. He needs you." The words sink in, soft and sweet like sugar dissolving in hot tea. "He does not use those exact words," Claire says quickly, cheeks flushing. "But I can tell. When your name pops up on his screen, he relaxes a little. I think he is afraid to say it out loud. Men like him do not like to admit they need someone." Selena leans back, satisfied. "Of course they do not," she says. "So what is he hiding now?" Selena narrows her eyes. "The wrong people like who?" "Oh, I should not say." Claire whispers. "Forget I mentioned it." Later, When Selena sees Butler having a tense conversation with Marcus by the elevators, she files it under the category Claire created, wrong people, wrong time. A few days after that, Claire happens to pass by an open office door and hears Marcus hissing into the phone about how Butler is going to sink the company. She lingers just long enough to catch the phrase, overcompensating idiot. Then moves on, her expression vacant. The list of blades grows. Recording of a dinner where Butler cracks a joke about buying off a health inspector. Screenshots of him flirting with a younger influencer on a messaging app, hinting at benefits. If she posts about his new restaurant, Claire never uses any of it immediately. One rainy morning, she visits her parents in the county jail. The visitor room smells like disinfectant and old coffee. Her mother sits on one side of the scratched plastic table, hands folded tight. Her father looks thinner, his hair more gray than she remembers. Claire, her mother breathes. You have lost weight. Her father watches her closely. You are working for him, are you not? He asks quietly. Her smile freezes. How did you know? Her throat tightens, but she does not deny it. Be careful. Her mother whispers. Do not let hatred consume you. Her father squeezes her hand, his fingers rough with calluses earned from years of walking through kitchens and fixing things himself instead of hiring others. If you go too far, he says, there may be nothing left of you when it is over. She looks at him, at the man who always believed in building things for the long term, who refused easy shortcuts. Her mother reaches across the table, eyes brimming. There is. She insists. I know there is. Your softness, your kindness, that is who you are. Soft, kind. She once believed those words were enough to protect her. When she leaves the jail, rain streaks down the windows of the bus. She presses her forehead against the glass and closes her eyes. She does not know yet what her final move will look like. She only knows one thing for certain. He will fall loud enough that the whole city hears him scream. The first story breaks on a Tuesday morning. Claire is stocking the mini fridge in Butler's office with his favorite brand of sparkling water when her phone buzzes in her pocket. The alert banner flashes across the screen. Her fingers still. She glances at Butler, who is on a call with a supplier, then looks back at her phone. The headline is mild, almost polite, but she knows how quickly mild questions turn into raging storms. She waits until Butler hangs up, wipes her hands on her skirt, and clears her throat. He frowns but takes the phone. As he reads, his expression shifts from annoyance to anger. The article cites anonymous sources about kitchen shortcuts, inspectors pressured to look away, inspectors receiving gift baskets that were more than gift baskets. It is not a full assault yet. It is a test shot. I am sure it is just a misunderstanding. Claire says quickly. Maybe a competitor is jealous. You have worked so hard to grow the company. People cannot stand to see you succeed. He exhales through his nose, some of the anger turning into wounded pride. You think so? His shoulders relax a fraction. You are the only one who understands that, he says. She coaxes him to sit, brings him tea, and suggests carefully that it might be wise to schedule a call with Marcus to discuss a unified response. She does not mention that Marcus already knows. She knows, because she made sure he would. Marcus calls within the hour, voice sharp. Butler, have you seen the article? Of course I have seen it. Butler snaps. We are handling it. It is a smear campaign. Is it? Marcus asks quietly. Because I have been looking at some numbers, and they do not match the reports we filed. When we took over the Cavendish brand, Marcus continues. We agreed we would keep things clean. If you have been moving money around without telling me, that is not just reckless, it is suicidal. Butler bristles. I have kept this company afloat while you dragged your feet on every decision. The old insult returns, wearing a new suit. Edward would never have done this. Edward understood stability. Butler sees Claire flinch at the mention of her father. He mistakes the flicker of pain in her eyes for hurt loyalty toward him instead. The line goes dead. Butler slams his fist onto the desk so hard the pen holder jumps. Claire lets out a little gasp, then clamps her hand over her mouth, eyes wide. He breathes heavily, knuckles white. You did nothing wrong, he says. Marcus is a coward. He would have kept this company small and weak. I am the one building something real. Claire nods as if his words comfort her. I know, she says. You are the only one brave enough to make big moves. That afternoon, Selena storms into the office, a glossy magazine clutched in her hand. She tosses it onto Butler's desk. The open spread shows a paparazzi shot of him at a gallery opening with a young model on his arm. What is this? She demands. Networking. Selena repeats, voice rising. You are holding her like you used to hold me. Claire freezes by the file cabinet, spine straight. Her eyes jump between them, all wide concern and confusion. Selena laughs without humor. I know exactly how these events are. And I know exactly what you promised me when I backed your takeover. Claire looks down quickly, as if embarrassed to be present. Should I leave? She asks in a small voice. Butler glares. Not in front of her. Why not? Selena says. She is part of your life now, is she not? I am just his assistant. She says. I do not matter. You matter more than you think. Selena replies, eyes narrowing. People talk. They say you are always with him. Late nights, early mornings, little white outfits. The self-insult is deliberate. It lowers her while lifting Selena up, like placing a rival on a pedestal so their eventual fall will be more satisfying. Selena's anger shifts, no longer focused solely on Butler. Suspicion flares, then dims. If Claire is this pathetic, this reverent, maybe she truly is not a threat. She turns back to Butler. You used me, she says. I risked my reputation to support you when you went after this company. Now you parade around town with every young thing hungry for a free dinner, and I am supposed to smile. Claire looks at Butler, lower lip trembling. You did not, she says faintly. You would not do that to Ms. Jones. She has done so much for you. Butler opens his mouth, then closes it again. For the first time, he looks caught, not by the article or Marcus or regulators, but by something closer and messy. You know how this world works, he says finally. Appearances matter. I need to show the brand is young and fresh. He runs a hand through his hair, exasperated. That is not what I said. It is what you meant. She shoots back. Keep your young and fresh, Butler. When the headlines turn on you, do not come crying to me. Selena stops, fingers tightening on her purse strap. For what? She asks. For not being strong like you. Claire says, eyes shining. If I were, maybe I could tell Mr. Gray what he is doing wrong. But I am just grateful he lets me stay here at all. Then she leaves, heels clicking a staccato rhythm down the hall. Butler sinks into his chair with a curse. Women, he mutters. They always think everything is about feelings. I am sure she will calm down, she says softly. You two have been through so much together. She just needs time. Privately, she knows better. Time is not soothing the rift. Time is fermenting it. They sit at a small bar a block away, the kind of place where music is loud enough to cover conversations, but soft enough that nobody has to shout. I should not be talking to you, Selena says, stirring her martini. You are his favorite these days. Selena snorts. You are not stupid, Claire. You see how he looks at you, all that white and those big eyes. Men like to feel like rescuers. Claire drops her gaze, letting embarrassment redden her cheeks. If he looks at me, it is because I remind him of his daughter, she says. He told me once I am like family. That is all. I do not care how he looks at you, Selena says, leaning forward. I care about how he uses people. People like me. People like you. She reaches into her purse and pulls out a small digital recorder, sliding it across the table. Claire's fingers brush the recorder. Her heart gives a little jump. I cannot go to the police. Selena continues. My own name would drag into it. Sponsors, events, favors. But someone with a cleaner image? Someone who looks like a victim? Claire swallows. Ms. Jones, I am not brave like you, she says. I do not know how to talk to lawyers, or reporters, or anyone like that. Selena rolls her eyes. You are braver than you think, she says. You walked into that company the day your parents were arrested, and did not run away. That is more courage than half those board members have. When Claire returns to her apartment that night, she plays the recordings through cheap headphones. Butler's voice fills the room, laughing, joking, blustering. So what if the inspector got a little envelope? He says in one clip. It is how the game works. They want you to pay, they just do not say it out loud. Claire sits very still, listening. The words do not surprise her. They confirm what she already knew. He thinks she is trapped. He thinks she is his safest possession. He has no idea that every crack opening in his world began in her small white hands. 2 months later, the Cavendish Tower ballroom glitters like a promise. Crystal chandeliers spill light onto polished floors. Cameras flash as guests arrive, draped in designer fabrics and expensive smiles. A banner stretches across the back wall, proclaiming in bold letters, Butler stands near the stage, a drink in his hand and pride in his eyes. The recent scandals have not toppled him. He rode out the first wave by blaming a few middle managers, firing them publicly, and announcing internal reviews. The regulators are still circling, but Butler believes he has bought himself time. Tonight is about seizing the narrative. Tonight, he will show the world that he is still the king of this kingdom. People notice her. They always do. Tonight, they look a little longer. Not because she is beautiful, though she is, but because there is something different in the way she carries herself. She is still soft, still polite, still apologizing when she bumps someone in the crowd. But underneath the softness, there is a steadiness that feels less like fragility and more like control. One set sits in a small polished silver drive tucked into the lining of her clutch. The ballroom is wired for presentation. Huge screens flank the stage, ready to play the highlight reel of Cavendish Dining's new projects. Claire confirmed every connection herself. She knows which cable leads to which input. She knows the exact sequence to switch from the public reel to her private one. Butler spots her across the room and waves her over. "Claire," he calls. "Come stand by me when I go up. You have earned it." She glides forward, the crowd parting around her. "You will not be," he says, resting a hand on her arm. "You are a symbol of this company's resilience. The daughter of my former boss, still here, still loyal." The words should make her sick. Instead, they steady her resolve. He smiles for the cameras as a reporter approaches. "Mr. Gray," the woman says, pushing a microphone toward him. "The last few months have been rough for Cavendish Dining. How confident are you that tonight marks a new chapter?" Butler laughs, smooth and rehearsed. "I am very confident," he says. "We have cleaned house. We are more transparent than ever. This company was nearly destroyed by the selfish actions of one family. I have dedicated myself to restoring trust." The reporter glances at her. "And you, Ms. Cavendish? How does it feel to see the company thriving again under new leadership?" A hush falls around them. Cameras tilt. "It feels," she says slowly, "like watching a house rebuilt on a foundation you know is cracked." The reporter blinks. Butler's fingers tighten briefly on her arm. Claire smiles faintly. "Yes," she says. "A lot of memories." She lets it go at that. The reporter moves on. Butler leans in close, voice low. She looks up at him, eyes wide and apologetic. "I am sorry," she murmurs. "I did not mean to make things awkward. I just miss my parents." He softens. "Say less and smile more," he advises. Tonight is important. When it is time for his speech, the band falls silent, and the murmurs of conversation fade. Butler climbs the steps to the stage with Claire at his side. The spotlight hits him, washing his face in warm light. "Ladies and gentlemen," he begins, voice amplified. "Thank you for joining us tonight. When I took over Cavendish Dining Group, I knew the road ahead would be difficult. The previous leadership left more damage than most of you realized. But we faced the storm." Butler continues. "We made hard choices. We removed bad actors. And we rebuilt trust." He gestures toward the screens behind him. "Tonight, we celebrate not just our survival, but our rebirth." He finishes his opening remarks and nods toward her. It is the cue they agreed on. Time for the promo reel, a glossy montage of happy customers, shiny kitchens, and ambitious plans. Claire crouches gracefully, as if adjusting her heel, and taps the first button. But the smiling customers do not appear. Instead, the first image is grainy black and white security footage from 3 months ago. Butler in a private meeting room with a man in a cheap suit. The man slides an envelope across the table. Butler opens it, counts stacks of cash, and shakes the man's hand. At first, some guests think it is a joke, a prank. Then the audio kicks in. As long as the report says everything is up to code. Butler's voice says, distorted but undeniable. "We had a small fire last year. I do not need that on the record." The clip ends. Another begins. Butler on a call, his face half shadowed. "I told you, move the funds to the offshore account," he says. "Make sure it cannot be traced back to our main books. The board does not need to see everything." Butler freezes on stage, his mouth half open, sweat beads on his forehead. He rushes to the control panel and jabs at the buttons. Nothing changes. Emails fill the screen, blown up large enough that even the back row can read them. Lines where Butler orders documents destroyed. Messages where he jokes about putting the Cavendish dinosaurs out of business for good. A photo appears of her parents being led away in handcuffs, side by side with a text message from Butler to Marcus. "Turn it off." Butler barks. "Turn it off now." The tech team scrambles by the back wall, but Claire knows they cannot help him. Her override is already engaged. This presentation is locked in. "Mr. Gray," she says, her voice calm and clear, cutting through the chaos. Maybe it is time someone else spoke. He rounds on her, eyes wild. What did you do? He hisses. My name is Claire Cavendish. She says. For those who have forgotten. The cameras swing toward her. She looks straight into the nearest lens. She gestures toward the screen, where a bank transfer now shows Butler moving funds out of the company accounts into one with his name on it. But that story was a lie. She says. The only person stealing from Cavendish Dining was the man standing next to me. I have spent the last 3 months working as his assistant. She says. He thought I was grateful. He thought I was helpless. While he bragged and bullied, and bought his way out of trouble, I listened. I watched. I collected every piece of proof I could find. On the screen behind her, a recording plays where Butler calls her pathetic and loyal. Security hesitates in the aisles, unsure who to obey. The police stationed near the entrance, invited for visible safety, at Butler's suggestion, are already speaking into their radios as the evidence continues to roll. But I am not the only one who was used. Claire says, scanning the crowd. Selena Jones supported him. Marcus White partnered with him. Some of you turned a blind eye because the profits looked good and the parties had nice wine. Tonight is not about rebirth, she says. It is about truth. Every file you see on that screen has been sent to the district attorney. Every recording is in the hands of investigators. This is not a smear campaign. This is confession, whether he wanted to make it or not. The doors at the back of the ballroom swing open. Uniformed officers step in, followed by detectives in plain suits. The room erupts in shouts and frantic questions. For a moment, the old mask tries to reassert itself. His voice turns plaintive, wounded. I saved this company, he says loudly. I saved her when her parents abandoned her. She is confused, that is all. Claire meets his gaze. Her eyes are no longer wet. They are dry, cold, and clear. Selena steps forward from the crowd, face pale but determined. He is lying. She calls. I have recordings too. I can confirm what she is saying. Marcus raises a hand as well, jaw tight. I have documents. He says. I tried to pull away, but I stayed too long. I will cooperate fully. The officers mount the stage. One recites Butler's rights while another pulls his hands behind his back. He struggles, sputtering protest, shouting about misunderstandings and conspiracies. Claire. He snarls as they pull him away. You will regret this. Without me, you are nothing. Her fingers tremble around the microphone, but her voice does not shake when she speaks again. Without you, she says. I am finally free. The trial drags on for months. Every day brings a new headline. Gray executive accused of massive fraud. Cavendish scandal wider than expected. Former allies turn on Butler Gray. But every time a lawyer suggests her evidence is fake, another file is produced. Another witness speaks. Another recording plays. Selena takes the stand, cool and composed in a navy suit, instead of the bright dresses she used to wear to galas. She plays the clips of Butler bragging about inspectors and envelopes. She admits her own involvement, her own cowardice, and does not flinch when the courtroom whispers. The district attorney presents the documents Claire gathered. Transfer logs, contract drafts, email chains. The judge listens. The jury listens. Butler glares at Claire from the defendant's table whenever she is in the room, but he does not speak to her. His lawyers told him that addressing her directly makes him look unhinged. His eyes say what his mouth cannot. Claire meets his eyes only once. She does not smile. She does not gloat. She simply looks at him the way one looks at a stranger who tried to break into their house and failed. The day the verdict comes, the courthouse is packed. Butler's shoulders sag as the judge announces the sentence. Decades, fines, restrictions, restitution. At the mention of restitution, Claire feels something unclench in her chest. Money will not erase what he did, but it is a tool. A chance to rebuild. Miss Cavendish, how do you feel about the verdict? Do you regret working with Butler in the first place? Claire stands on the courthouse steps with cameras pointed at her, just like the day her parents were led away in handcuffs. That day, she was a silent, sobbing figure in the background. Today, she is the one they are here to hear. She lets the words sink in before continuing. I do not regret becoming his assistant. She adds. If I had stayed away, he might have gotten away with everything he did. Sometimes, to pull out the poison, you have to get close to the wound. What about your parents? Someone asks. How are they doing now that they have been cleared? A real smile, small but bright, touches her lips for the first time in months. She does not say that her father still wakes some nights sweating, convinced officers will burst through the door. She does not mention that her mother keeps the cleared paperwork, framed on the wall like a strange, bittersweet diploma. Some scars are not for the cameras. Reborn dining group. Her parents wanted to retire. Claire convinced them to keep a share, but she refused to let them take on the daily grind again. They have earned their rest. Now they visit once a week to taste menu samples and critique the floral arrangements. A young reporter approaches her with a notebook in hand. "Ms. Cavendish," he says, a little nervous. "Thank you for agreeing to the interview. I know you have been avoiding the press." They sit in a small private lounge with a view of the kitchen. Chefs move like dancers, their motions efficient and precise. "Do you see yourself as a hero?" the reporter asks. "I see myself as someone who was very angry and very tired," she says frankly. "I did what I thought was necessary to make things right. If that makes me a hero to some people, that is their story to tell, not mine." He hesitates. "Some have called you ruthless," he says. "They say you set people up, that you let Marcus and Selena hang themselves in the process of taking down Butler." "Ruthless is an interesting word," she says. "Butler ruined my family without blinking. Marcus looked away because it was profitable. Selena benefited from it as long as it suited her." She turns back to the reporter. He scribbles, thoughtful. "And now?" he asks. "Now that you have your company back, what do you want?" The question lingers. For so long, her answer would have been simple. Now, with Butler behind bars and her parents laughing in their own kitchen again, the word feels smaller than it used to. "I want to build something better," she says. "Not just for me or my family. For everyone who works here. For every customer who trusts us with their money and their health. I want this company to be the opposite of what Butler tried to turn it into." She smiles, a little surprised to realize it is true. "Revenge kept me moving when I thought I would drown," she says. "But it cannot be the only thing you live for. Once the fire dies down, you have to decide whether you are going to stand in the ashes or plant something new." In the kitchen, her father tastes a sauce and makes a face. "Too much salt," he declares. "You are trying to give our customers high blood pressure." The young chef beside him laughs nervously. "Yes, sir, I will fix it." He shrugs. Old habits. Her mother appears with a tray of tiny tarts. "Do not listen to him," she tells the chef. "He complains even when something is perfect." When she steps outside that evening, the sky over Manhattan is streaked with pink and gold. The wind is cool, carrying the smells of food and car exhaust, and the faint sweetness of a nearby bakery. A young woman stands at the corner, hesitating before crossing the street. She looks tired, clutching a folder to her chest like a shield. For a moment, she reminds Claire of herself on the day of the shareholders' meeting, small and overwhelmed, and not yet aware of how sharp she could become when pushed. She smiles instead and heads in the opposite direction, hands in the pockets of her coat. She still wears white often. It is habit now as much as strategy. People still underestimate her when they see a girl in a white dress. Part of her enjoys that. Part of her is trying to learn how to live without needing to be underestimated to feel safe. She lifts the cup, inhaling the light, slightly floral scent. "To new games," she murmurs, then shakes her head, correcting herself. She drinks, letting the warmth spread through her, and for the first time in a long time, the taste is not laced with bitterness.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.